Imagine your own hand turning against you. It unbuttons your shirt as you're trying to get dressed. It stubs out a cigarette you just lit. It slaps you in the face hard and you can't stop it. It feels like it has a mind of its own, an alien entity controlling your every move. But the call isn't coming from outside the house. It's coming from inside your own head. If you are fascinated by the bizarre and terrifying ways the human brain can malfunction, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. The stories we tell will make you question everything you thought you knew about who is really in control. Tonight, we delve into one of the most baffling and disturbing neurological disorders ever documented. A condition where a person's own limb becomes a rogue agent, performing complex, purposeful actions without their consent and often against their will. This is a story of a civil war being fought within the brain, of two consciousnesses trapped in one body, and of the terrifying loss of personal autonomy. This is the strange and frightening world of alien hand syndrome. For most of us, the connection between mind and body is seamless. We think, therefore we do. But what happens when that connection is severed? What happens when a part of your body declares independence? This is the reality for people who suffer from alien hand syndrome, a rare and profoundly unsettling condition where one of their hands, and sometimes a leg, begins to act as if it has its own will, its own intentions, and its own personality. It is not a spasm or a twitch. It is a series of complex, goal-oriented actions that are completely outside of the person's conscious control. The stories are as bizarre as they are terrifying. A woman's hand repeatedly unbuttoning her blouse while her other hand desperately tries to button it back up. A man's hand reaching out to grab objects, refusing to let go. A patient's hand stuffing food into their mouth while they are trying to speak. One of the most famous cases is that of Karen Byrne, a woman from New Jersey whose life was turned upside down by her rebellious left hand. Karen's ordeal began after she underwent a radical brain surgery at the age of 27 to treat a severe case of epilepsy that had dominated her life since she was 10 years old. The surgery, called a corpus callosotomy, involved severing the thick bundle of nerve fibers, the corpus callosum, that connects the two hemispheres of the brain, allowing them to communicate and coordinate. The procedure was a last resort, used only when all other treatments had failed, and it was a success in its primary goal. It cured her epilepsy, ending the seizures that had plagued her for nearly 2 decades. But it created a new, and in some ways, more terrifying problem. Her left hand began to act on its own, as if it had developed a mind and will separate from her own. It would stub out cigarettes she had just lit, reach into her purse and take things out without her knowledge, and even slap and punch her in the face, leaving her bruised and terrified. She was at war with herself, a prisoner in her own body. To understand alien hand syndrome, we have to understand the brain. Our brain is divided into 2 hemispheres, a left and a right, connected by the corpus callosum. The right hemisphere, which controls the left side of the body, is more involved in spatial awareness and pattern recognition. The left hemisphere, which controls the right side of the body, is typically dominant and responsible for language and analytical thought. In a healthy brain, the 2 hemispheres are in constant communication, working together to create a unified sense of self and a cohesive set of actions. But when the corpus callosum is cut, that communication is lost. The 2 hemispheres are, in effect, divorced. The groundbreaking work of Nobel laureate Roger Sperry in the mid-20th century on split-brain patients revealed a shocking truth that fundamentally changed our understanding of consciousness. Each hemisphere of the brain is a conscious system in its own right. Each half is capable of perceiving, thinking, remembering, reasoning, willing, and even emoting independent of the other. In one of Sperry's most famous experiments, filmed for posterity, a split-brain patient was asked to solve a puzzle using blocks that had to be arranged to match a pattern. When the patient used his left hand, controlled by the right hemisphere, he was quite good at it, completing the puzzle with relative ease. But when asked to use his right hand, controlled by the left hemisphere, that hand had no clue what to do, fumbling helplessly with the blocks. The left hand, seeing the struggle, tried to help, but the right hand pushed it away, refusing assistance. The two hands ended up fighting like two young children squabbling over a toy. In most split-brain patients, the dominant left hemisphere maintains control, imposing its will on the body. But in rare cases, like Karen Burns, the non-dominant right hemisphere rebels. It refuses to be subservient. It wants to have its say. And the result is a power struggle, a battle for control played out through the movements of the patient's own body. The alien hand is not simply moving randomly. It is acting with purpose. It is expressing the will of the non-dominant hemisphere. This is why the actions can seem so oppositional. The left brain, which controls language, might decide to button up a shirt. But the right brain, which is more impulsive and emotional, might decide it wants to take the shirt off. The result is a bizarre and frustrating conflict, a literal case of the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing, because the two can no longer speak to each other. There are several types of alien hand syndrome, each with its own unique and disturbing characteristics. In the most common form, known as the anarchic hand, the limb performs complex actions that are contrary to the person's intentions, acting with a will of its own. In another form, called diagnostic dyspraxia or intermanual conflict, the two hands actively work against each other, one trying to complete a task while the other tries to undo it, creating a frustrating and often comical battle. And in perhaps the most disturbing form, known as the alien hand sign, the patient feels a complete sense of alienation from the limb, believing that it is not their own, that it has been possessed by some external force or belongs to someone else entirely. There is also the levitating hand, where the affected limb rises into the air on its own, floating as if pulled by invisible strings, and the supernumerary hand, where the patient feels as if they have an extra phantom limb that doesn't actually exist. The condition is not just a medical curiosity. It is a source of profound psychological distress. Patients can feel a terrifying loss of autonomy, a sense that they are no longer in control of their own bodies. They can develop depression, anxiety, and a deep-seated fear of their own hand. The social consequences can be equally devastating. How do you explain to your friends and family that you didn't mean to throw that glass across the room, that it was your hand, not you? How do you hold down a job when your own limb is actively working against you? While a corpus callosotomy is one of the most dramatic causes of alien hand syndrome, it can also arise from other forms of brain damage, such as a stroke, a tumor, or a neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's or Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. In these cases, the damage is often more localized, affecting the specific areas of the brain that are responsible for planning and executing movements. The result is the same: a breakdown in the chain of command, a hand that has gone rogue. There is no cure for alien hand syndrome. Treatment focuses on managing the symptoms and helping the patient adapt to their new bizarre reality. This can involve physical therapy to improve control over the affected limb, behavioral strategies to distract the alien hand, and in some cases, medication to reduce the frequency and severity of the involuntary movements. But for many, it is a lifelong struggle, a constant negotiation with a part of themselves that has become a stranger. Alien hand syndrome is more than just a rare neurological disorder. It is a profound and unsettling glimpse into the very nature of consciousness. It forces us to ask fundamental questions. What is the self? Where does it reside? And what happens when it is fractured? The stories of people like Karen Byrne are a stark reminder that the unified, cohesive self we all take for granted is a fragile and complex construction, a delicate dance between the two halves of our brain. And when that dance is disrupted, the result can be a terrifying and lonely internal war. What do you think is the most disturbing aspect of this condition? Let us know in the comments below. And if this story has made you think, please like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the mysteries of the human mind.